Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Wednesday, December 1st. December 1st at 12:47 p.m. What a month. November was a heck of a month. We had very big blow off tops and big drawdowns. And I'll show the chart, and you know the asset I'm talking about. It's a heck of a drawdown. Two of my very most favorite of assets had 60-70% drawdowns. But that's okay. And the point of that is these are volatile markets, and that plays into exactly what I want to talk about today is cash flow and how we denominate it. In volatile markets, we have to be considerate of the denomination of cash flow. We could have transitory periods of depreciation, in which case a moderately volatile asset as a transitory holding of capital for purposes of optional deployment, you may not want. You may not want Ethereum or Bitcoin to be a transitory store of capital. You may want a dollar stablecoin or a dollar peg stablecoin. Heck, maybe you're following Forex and you want a euro peg stablecoin at this point. There's plenty of options in the crypto space. You get a Korean won peg stablecoin. Got Forex coming online in the DeFi space. So, well, transitory periods all over the place. You could have outperformance on some of the emerging markets as compared to the dollar. Forex is a heck of a market to come into the crypto space. Really changes a lot of the metrics and the dynamics of things because historically we only interacted with dollar peg stablecoins. Now we have a whole world of other pegs to consider, along with other foreign currencies. What is a foreign currency? Bitcoin. Ethereum, these are all foreign currencies. This is why I always talked about Curve in terms of a Forex market. It's a currency. Assets are currencies in many regards, especially with the liquid nature of them and the fact that you can spend cryptocurrencies using credit cards, either like crypto.com or whatever. There's plenty of crypto credit cards, and because the assets are liquid, you could replenish these cards with anything. So it's all interchangeable. They're all currencies. I find it fascinating when world leaders don't call these assets currencies. There's no reason an asset can't have properties of a currency. Anyway, I'm digressing. I want to hit the comments. I want to show some charts, and I wanted to talk about denomination of cash flow. So, we got all this cash flow coming in. I'll show you guys what I've been accumulating as my transitory storage of capital that'll likely be deployed, albeit I kind of consider this transitory state that it's in as a position as well. But let me pop it over to the main screen. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. We got Spell with a mean regression to the 100 SMA on the daily. It's not like this is completely outrageous. It's not even in red guppy territory. It's below the TWAP, obviously, on the daily. But 1, 2, 3 drives down. And if it holds, the 100 SMA already had 3 drives down. So you got some aspects of Elliott wave kicking in. I don't know how many drives up. You usually have 5 up and 3 down. But that's totally, a drawdown in classical terms, not necessarily specific to the T with regard to the price action or the structure of the drives. But if this plays out and we find a bounce and we start to move up, it looks good. Heck, it even found support on the 0.786. So support wasn't on the 100 SMA. So there's 4 things for support that are good to look at. So obviously the Fib retrace, you got moving averages, you got trend formations, and then you got the strongest of supports, which is price action support. So clearly we have 2 components here. You got a bit of a price action support. Right over here is this nice red candle for 1 day, which coincides with the 0.786. It's clear to see on the 4-hour. There's the 4-hour candle to the 0.786. So this is a decent price action region of support. We're definitely above the 0.786. Anyway, So I'm accumulating Ethereum as uh, as transitory capital storage, likely to be deployed, but I don't have to deploy it, which is a very interesting phenomena that maybe you only encounter in the crypto space, right? Because we're so liquid. What if a company is pulling in, like 100 grand a day, let's say, they're storing it in cash, and that's their frame of reference. But in the crypto space, you don't have to store income in dollars. You don't have to store income in stable coins and cash. You can store it in another asset. It's so freaking liquid. You have so much more liquidity in the crypto space. Not necessarily liquidity, because you have the liquidity in legacy finance, but you don't have you have the friction. It's a pain in the ass. Like if you want to take transitory cash flow income and put it into a stock, sure you can, but you got to wire it over to the brokerage. It takes a couple hours. And then you have your T+2 clearing time on a stock, and it's just a whole mess. But you don't have any of that. Everything is frictionless in the crypto space, so you can literally denominate a cash store any way you want. So I got the Ethereum chart up, denominated in Bitcoin. Chart is ridiculous. So it has yet to really reach higher highs with regard to its Bitcoin denomination. And to top it all off, this was a failed breakout attempt. This is a pretty well structured ascending formation. I wish this was a little bit higher, because then we'd have a clear ascending triangle. That'd be nice, but it is an ascending triangle. Drawn out one. Yeah, there's a variety of lines you'd be able to draw on this. Oop, I'm not going to draw a TA right about now, but look, there's one line. Then you have a horizontal line. Horizontal. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know. Let's put it right about there. Great. So after this breakout, well, it still looks like it's above that, and there's 2 touch points there. Nothing's perfect in TA. Let's go down a little bit. So you can do something like that. Still above, and this is the weekly. Bear in mind, this is the weekly chart, boys and girls. So that's pretty cool. Look at that. That is a nice horizontal draw. And this is on the daily. Let's see if it holds as a support. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, that's going to look seriously good. That's going to look seriously good if that plays out. Dip down and support, especially off a shooting star like that. Well, that's clearly a shooting star. Well, we got 6 hours left in the candle. Pretty interesting. So this is the asset of choice for deployable capital. The 50 SMA, 100 SMA bullish cross on the daily. Look at that. Look at that cross. This thing looks ready to outperform as compared to Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. I want to look at my cash flow sources. The 3 cash flow sources obviously are Blizz, Geist, and Convex. You all know that. Zoom out to the weekly. $50 SMA. Holding on the 50 SMA on the weekly. Under the 50 SMA. JT must be having a field day over TA. I mean, this thing needs to get back over the 50 SMA. I mean, you're below resistance. So anytime you're below a resistance, you got to break resistance and turn resistance into support, and then print the higher high. So this is, we're bullish on Bitcoin, but it's not a bullish position with regard to moving averages. It's nice that it went up to 70, but that doesn't mean much. You still need a bullish trend formation. And this is not a bullish trend formation. If anything, this is a bear flag, or at least potentially even the start of a bear flag. Let's go over to the 4-hour real quick. You'll see it more clearly. Maybe even the daily. Oh no, how do you like that? I didn't notice that. Check it out. Check this out, boys and girls. This is a descending Or even if it, nope, not a breakout, but a descending broadening wedge. Huh, I didn't notice that. That's a bullish pattern. It's not that much broadening, but maybe if you draw it up here. That's a broadening wedge. It's pretty obvious. Get more detail on the 4 hour. Yeah, there's a couple of candles in here that you could draw it a couple of different ways, but arguably that's a decent broadening wedge. We talk about some comments. Dan's here, Adrian's here, Hilda's in the house. A pleasure. Afternoon. Smart, chilled, risky cryptos in the house. I like the new name. Chilled and baked when podcast, my dude. Well, I mean, technically, you could play YouTube without the video, so I'll figure out how to put it on like some podcast platform. I don't know. Killis, hi. Adam, Quantified, More Lobby, CJ, Big Cabeza in the house. Can you please give your thoughts on TriCrypto regarding the transitory spike of funds you just mentioned? Well, okay, it's not a bad idea. So let's head over to where I'm storing my capital. I'm storing deployable capital right now on Blizz. No, I don't want to go to Ethereum mainnet. Connect. So I have some capital here denominated in Ethereum. So, now that you mention it, Dan, it's not a bad idea. TriCrypto will have increasing price stability, and I consider this deployable capital, albeit in the crypto space, deployable capital coincides with an actual position that could outperform. Now, Ethereum has a variety of price targets, 10, 15, 20 grand are quite reasonable considering the burn. Watch the burn. Look at the burn on this. The burn is ridiculous on Ethereum, which is a disinflationary pressure. Let's go to the daily. 105%. It's a deflationary asset today thus far. Wow. When I see stuff like that, this makes me just want to hold it as a position. But the thing is, it's not a productive asset, so it introduces all these complexities. Now, it has all these wonderful properties, but it's not going to outperform significantly with price point. But that is kind of the point of a savings asset. You don't want it to significantly outperform because outperformance to the upside is still volatility, which means you're going to have periods of underperformance and depreciation, price action to the downside. So anytime something goes straight up, it comes straight down. Now, thus far, this is a very healthy chart for Spell, especially with the 0.786 pounds, consistent with a mean regression, especially on the daily to the 100 SMA. That'd be nice if that holds. So this is a very nice asset, Ethereum. People don't have a high opinion of it because the vast majority of the global population is not operating with 7, 8, 9 figure accounts. So you have a large voice on social media. They can't handle $1, 2, 3, 4, $500 transactions, which is understandable. But last check, there's 40 million millionaires in the world. So 40 million people who could easily handle $1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, $1,000 transactions. That's a large ecosystem. You come into the crypto space with like $5 million of the 40 million millionaires, and let's say someone has a $20 million net worth, and they're coming in the crypto space with 2 mil. You can afford $1,000 transactions if you're gonna, especially if you're not going to be aping and you're not going to be doing degenerate interaction with these protocols. If you're just going to deposit into a convex position, it's not a big deal for a couple $1,000, especially if you're going to deposit $1 million into the MIM pool on convex. What's the big deal? 0.1% transaction fee on deposit, the gas fee. It'd be less. It's not going to be $1,000 to get into the MIM position. So this really, goes around in my mind that a lot of the sentiment you hear in the crypto space isn't meaningful. And I apologize, obviously, if anyone on the stream has expressed distaste for the asset, and there's because I don't really see much to find distaste with. Obviously, it's a wealthy crypto space actor's asset of choice. But that's exactly why there's different neighborhoods, there's different demographics. There's Fifth Avenue, there's Midtown, there's Times Square, there's the Village, there's Chinatown, and the New York analogy, New York City analogy, I think is a good analogy for different parts of town. And that's what it is. They don't want, no one wants Ethereum gas prices to be what they are. They are what they are because the network is being used as much as it is. Do you think the prices can't go this high on Avalanche or Phantom? Of course they can. You just need a significant increase in network participation. And you'll have $100 transaction fees on Avalanche. They'll take a lot, but they could get up there and you can do the calculations of what it takes for the transaction fees to be that high over a continuous period, a sustained period. So maybe Ethereum isn't as efficient. Certainly isn't, and that's why Avalanche exists. But no reason gas fees cannot be as high on other chains. I just don't discount Ethereum because of high gas fees. It's not even high. I don't even consider it high. $100 to $500 is not a high transaction fee, and it's not going to inhibit market participation. How do you know? Because the gas fees are sustainably that high. If gas fees kept going up, it would drive people to stop consuming the protocol and wait for the gas fees to go down, which is exactly what happens. Do you want to know what the perfect gas fee is? Equilibrium. If it goes too high, people stop using it. If it goes low, more people start using it. So the gas fee is a great expression of the optimal cost to interact with a network. It's neither too low nor too high, but at just the right price point that neither encourages nor discourages interacting with the Ethereum blockchain. It's the perfect price. The market has priced it perfectly, priced it to perfection. That's what the gas fee is, which is very interesting. So, Ethereum, that's my choice because of this 105% on the daily. That's incredible. And then you look at the chart, that's the Bitcoin. Ethereum BTC. Let's go back to Ethereum Bitcoin. Because of this chart, woof, of course it's going to break out at some point with disinflation like that. That's not disinflation. This is deflation. Bitcoin goes through a halving, which is a 50% net reduction, which drives the price action that has occurred. Imagine a 100. It's not a halving. This is an elimination of an increase in supply. Clearly that's not the average. The average is probably around 68%. 90% for the month, 83%. The burn has been massive. Wow, 132%. The burn is massive for November. A massive, massive burn. Significant supply disruption. Circulating supply disruption as compared to what has been the norm historically. Massive. Raul's in the house. Sheesh, Geist is amazing. An asset that pays you the amount you invested in less than a few months. That is the case. Let's take a look at Geist and see how it's doing. 385%. It pays you. This asset pays you over 1% per day. That's an extraordinary number. It's paying you 10 times. If a bank account gives you 0.1% per year, this is giving you 10 times that in a day. And people see this as opportunity cost. And that's understandable. And we don't know how entirely sustainable it is, and it's extremely volatile, down to 46 cents. If it goes below 40 cents, it's interesting. My entry was at 46 cents, And I keep my eye on the stats, obviously. You want to see how much transaction fees it's generating. Look, 53,000 on the November 22nd. That's 64. It's still higher than a previous daily transaction fee haul. I mean, this is a lot of money right here that's paid out to persons that are staking Geist. The lock Geist earns the stake Geist fee plus the additional revenue from early vesting penalty claims. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I have 91 chip there. So I kind of made it back. So if there's 91 here, and I've saved up 97 so far, I already made one back. And so cash flow is paying. So I made an ROI in less than a month. Imagine a business that takes 5, 10 years for an ROI. And if you consider this a potential business, hopefully it's sustainable. But the full ROI was 1 month. Now I got to catch up to this one. What are we at for this? About 80 chip in here, which is it's much more productive, which it helps with the ROI. So I need a 170. 170. Once this says 170, I have a break even on the creation of a Geist and Blizz business. So 170. I need another 70. $2,000 a day. It's another 35 days. But I'm also saving Geist fees. So it's less than a month. And I'm also saving my convex yield. So you're probably talking about a week or two, 2 weeks, give or take. And I'll have my businesses paid in full. I don't know. I don't have anything to buy, which is kind of why I'm accumulating cash at this point. And I'm choosing the denomination as such, which is the battle. What did I say with the title of the stream? No, that wasn't the title I was thinking of. Transitory denomination of cash flow. So it could be whatever you want. So the point is, this is my chosen denomination currently, but I consider this spending cash. A lot of the structure of the portfolio is psychological categorization. How do you see a particular position? I see my position in convex as untouchable. I see these positions in Geist and Blizz as new subsidiaries, and I'm in the process of paying off the capital borrowed to create them. And I'm accumulating that capital as free cash flow, and I don't mind spending it. You leverage business all the time. We carry debt load. I got debt load. So I borrowed this money actually about 100 and I borrowed. It's actually much less, but I had a couple of different positions that I borrowed capital for. So I have Abracadabra to thank for the capital leverage or facilitating the capital I needed to expand business operations. Let me go over to borrow. I have capital that I borrowed from Spell Pool. It's at a 73%, 74% health factor. I probably should deposit some additional spell, bump that up to around 80. I usually like about 80%. It makes me feel comfortable. But what do I have? I owe 65 chip here. And we go down here to the S spell, the original S spell pool, at a much healthier 81.15%. I owe 110 chip over here. So I got some debt outstanding. Debt that financed business expansion into these two enterprises and a bit of capital accumulation, which can be used to repay debt obligations. I mean, it's cheap debt. What are they charging here? 0.5%. I'm paying 0.5%. Sailor talks about Bitcoin at whatever he's charging for his bonds. As long as Bitcoin outperforms the bond cost, it's a good bet. So as long as Spell outperforms 0.5% per year, I mean, you could almost consider this money like a permanent borrow. I mean, 0.5% is basically zero. So this number, this collateralization ratio, is barely going to budge at all. So it doesn't risk liquidation, which gives me a huge amount of optionality. I don't have any rush to repay the debt. I could keep that capital working. Very interesting. Shisha made Geist a small part of the portfolio, cash flow portfolio. That's the deal. Daniel, what do you do on days when you feel conviction is low? Um, I've been doing cardio lately. That's what I do. Conviction. Why are you holding assets that you have low conviction in? You got to have a very concentrated portfolio. Let me go to my portfolio balances. I'll tell you guys real quick. Curve's been at the top of the list. Spell was higher for a bit. So right now, Curve's sitting at 44.37% of the portfolio, Spell at 29. There was a time, you guys remember when Curve was like 60% of the portfolio, and then Spell flipped Curve. Spell was at like 50% of the portfolio. Spell depreciated, obviously, 60, 70% in the last couple of weeks. Popsicle's down to a respectable 8% of the portfolio. Frax has been getting clipped a little bit, down to 6.22%. Around at 4.19, just holds there. I'm not touching it. It's the size it is because that's the position I bought in March of 2020. I'm not touching it. And whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, I'll only know in hindsight. But I appreciate the dark nodes. So I'm going to hold them. And I'll know how it plays out in the coming years. Have a little convex, CDX, 3.79%. That's what that 110 chip is over here. Now, this is the 65er, but this was for a convex position. So I bought a 110 chip with a convex, which is 3.79%. And now that's at a decent price. I'm up over 150%. Wow. Up 150%. I think I bought that convex position around $10. That's nice. Cosmos is a respectable 1.89% of the portfolio. Keeper 0.84%. Polkadot 0.6%. Bancor 0.5% of the portfolio. Hey, you know what's been making a move? Let's go over to another portfolio. Holy shit, Syscoin. Irisnet has a respectable balance, but Syscoin has been making some significant moves. I bought a Syscoin masternode years ago for like $7,000, and now it's sitting at like it was like 9 cents, give or take, price point for Syscoin. Now it's sitting at 84 cents, up a respectable 9x, solid 900% on the money on Syscoin, 84 grand. That's nice. It's a complicated asset to contemplate with regard to a cash flow business. Masternodes clearly are producing cash flow, but the denomination is purely an inflationary source. So what does that mean? With the NEVM, I don't want to dig too much into Syscoin because obviously it's a very speculative and obviously significantly appreciated. I don't want to necessarily encourage anyone to participate at this time. But it has, they're deploying smart contract capabilities, their NEVM environment, their Ethereum virtual machine environment, which is pretty cool. Whether it actually continues to appreciate, whether it continues to outperform, whether the EVM environment catches on, I have no idea. So speculative territory in that regard. All right, let's go back to some charts. Let's look at Curve real quick. We're gonna have some fun. Let's look at Curve. This chart is ridiculous. This might be one of the most ridiculous charts going on right about now. Look at this. Look at this. This was resistance here. Look at those wicks to the upside. Resistance against this historic resistance. And then here, that's not resistance. You see that, boys and girls? The TWAP is over the line. This isn't resistance. That's support. Unless the story changes. That little micro narrative is invalidated. This is a historic resistance flip support. That's massive, massive, considering what Curve is. Considering what it is. This chart is a remarkable story. And I know, like when I see this chart, I see the story. And I'm fascinated by it. Come on. I can't Get rid of the line. I'd have to refresh the page. Okay, let's reload. Kronos in the house, a pleasure. Vincent, daily Geist heist. It is a Geist heist. Crypt, I see you claim rewards on Blizz as DAI. Can you do the same thing on Geist? Do you have to claim on Geist? As DAI? No, I have it as Ethereum. Everything is denominated as Ethereum. But you can claim whatever you want on Blizz. On Geist, you can only claim the whole position. So there is a bit more optionality on Geist and Blizz, and I'm quite fascinated by how much the price point is staying up, $1.08, considering the quantity of emissions. There is a great deal of inflation or increase in circulating supply, and that's meaningful. So obviously the reason or the daily platform fees, as well as the incentive to lock to gain access to 50% penalties, which is basically the EPS tokenomics, is effective here, much potentially more effective than historically on EPS, and definitely more effective thus far than Curve. This is a more productive cash flow asset than Curve. That's something to consider. This produces multitudes more cash flow than Curve on a CRV to VECRV cash flow, the platform transaction fee revenue. The stats. This cash flow is much more productive. $600 a day in cash flow. That's this. That's not the Blizz. The Blizz is the 1700. So this is extremely cash flow productive. I don't make $600 a day for my CVX CRV position. Very interesting. Get fit. I'm late, but you made it in the house. Paul, on Blizz, are the transaction fees you are paid wrapped by the protocol and earning interest while you claim? It's a good question. Yes, they are. They're B assets. So B assets are deposit assets, to my understanding. So that makes sense. Critical mass in the house. The captain is in the house. Hi, Captain Weber. It's a pleasure. Soul Survivor, will BTC ever have significant DeFi? It can't. It doesn't work like that. Bitcoin does not support um, Turing complete code execution. So Bitcoin has a stack of operations. So whatever it is, it's a linear stack of operations. There's no notion of state. There's no notion of memory. There's no notion of any of that. You need an external environment, some sort of external structure to manage state. And so you'll never have anything like this on Bitcoin. It doesn't work like that technologically. You need a centralized implementation to maintain state that's outside the scope of the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah, there's a couple of ideas that could work around that to some degree, but not considering the cost of transactions and the velocity of the blockchain. I don't think it doesn't work like that. Time locks are interesting as well. So you could do savings. You could do simple DeFi. You could do basic DeFi. You could do the options, the conditionality, and time locks for like savings accounts and shit like that. That's about it. You're not going to be doing stuff that like what we're looking at with AMMs, money markets, debt markets, so on and so forth. Crypto bets. Hey Noah, any thoughts on ICE? Haven't heard you touch on it in a while. By the way, what's for lunch? Chipotle. Vegan Chipotle today, boys and girls. That's the way to do things. Ice is cool. I'm cool with ice. Ice has been getting hammered. I don't have a chart up, but just down 66 and change percent. Um, so this is exactly what did I write? This, in fact, this was about pretty much ice or this is pretty much ice or spell. Maximum vol is an asset being down 70% and you're still up 600%. Was this ice? This was ice for me. I watched Pops. I've got my ice position at $3 and watched it go to 60. 60 with a dip down to 20 is a 67% drawdown, so 70%, and I bought at 3. So that's kind of like 600 and something percent. So I watched it lose 70% of its value, but I was still up 600%. That'll blow your mind a little bit. That blows your mind a little bit. So that's my thoughts on ICE. My thoughts on ICE are I think it's going to be a cash flow uh, factory. It's just going to print. That's my hope. That's my speculation. I think that's what's going to play out because I like Daniel and I like the whole crew. I think they have everything that's needed to be successful. And what the point is, I bought so low that I didn't care. I don't care about a 70% drawdown. And that's an interesting statement, right? As long as this continues its bullish trajectory, do I care that Spell had this dip? No. I'm still up 10, 15, 15x. No, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm up 10x right now on Spell at this depreciated price. Where's that? Here's that little white little circle thing. There's my entry down there. All right, so let it be insane and let people FOMO and do what the hell they did. I can afford to watch it go up and down and up and down and watch people go crazy, hand over fist, trying to figure out what a good entry price is. This is your maximum entry price here. If it continues its bullish trajectory, this is the bottom. 1, 2, 3 drives down, support on the 0.786, and is currently holding on top the 100 SMA on the daily for a mean regression to the 100 SMA on the daily. If anything is going to be support, it's this. Unless the market is falling off or the narrative for the asset is invalidating, that's a ridiculous place to take a bet. 1% of the portfolio turns to 10, it changes everything. Spell fees are through the roof, 142% of maker. That's ridiculous. Jesus Christ. Market cap is clearly extremely low compared to the amount of fees that it's generating. Generated $4 million. Wow. So not a lot of MIM in circulation compared to DAI, less than 50%. 4x to catch up to TVL. Big numbers here. So I have the luxury of not having to worry too much about the depreciation because of the early entry point. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Keep it going a little bit. Critical mass. Agree. I was wondering about what everyone is doing with their Ethereum now. I don't know. They folks, Sassel and folks, and the boys on Bankless, Ethereum is cash. Maybe it is. We'll see. Maybe it is cash. I don't know. CJ, been keeping an eye on that upcoming Astroport launch on Terra. Looks like you're going for a cash flow tokenomics. Seems like a bit of a hybrid curve. Blizz balancer. Yeah, it takes a lot for me to deploy capital. And look, it'll take me still a fair amount of time to recoup the investment into Geist and Blizz. So I'm the last person that's eager to get into a new position because I have to figure out the cash flow and I have to pay it off. I have to pay off the investment. I have to manage the debt position. I have to manage the balance sheet. So it's not easy for me to get into new positions. Caleb, thoughts on the 50-50 fee split for Spell Ice leveraged LP? Big deal. Awesome sauce. I think Ice is going to print. I look forward to that in time. So I have the luxury of time because of the entry price. Risky crypto, you mentioned assets like Ohm and Time going under their back price. How so? Well, bid ask. If there's more asks than bids, it's going to be depreciating. There's more sellers than buyers, it's going to depreciate. It's going to go down, down, and down. All the backed per value is a psychological value. If it's backed by $1,000, Ohm shouldn't go under that value, but it will. It can. It's just a psychological bottom, and it'll work. It'll have an effect, and that's the whole point. If it's valued at $1 or if it's valued at $1,000 back per, and it's back per $2,000, it's undervalued. So if it's below the back per price or over, determines whether it's overvalued or undervalued, whether you're buying it at a premium or a discount. Interesting, huh? Joe, I understand the FTM's directed acyclic graph allows you to keep gas fees below. Their implementation, I don't know the technical details of it, but I'm intrigued. And yeah, gas fees will get overloaded anywhere depending on utilization. If all of a sudden a billion people started using Avalanche or Phantom, it's going to seriously take a hit, at least for a short period of time. They'll probably at least overload the RPCs. Booze, Captain, can you shed some light on spell sell-off? It seems like the honeymoon period is over. Sure. If spell holds on the 100 SMA with a bounce off the 786 fib retrace on well, a variety of time frames, then this was just irrational exuberance. And this could easily be just an appreciative cycle and just be part of volatility. I mean, what happens if you hit this? Draw, and you head up 0.7 cents. And all of a sudden, this is just a little blip, a little dip, a little blip, and a little dip, or higher. 30 cents. Now it's just a little blip. I'll give you some perspective. Coinbase? Look at Coinbase. I mean, who was around for the 20,000 top? Looks like a little blip now, doesn't it? How about 20? Let's see where the tops were. I think it was 2016. I mean, this is 2020, 2017. That was a $20,000 top. And if you go back, we should at least see a couple of previous tops. Here we go. 2016 had a nice peak. That was the $800 top. So there's some blips. Everything starts somewhere. It could be some blips. You know? Everyone's just compressing the chart now to look at the current price action. See, 20,000 top seemed huge. Seemed huge. And then, bam, Bitcoin just decided to go vertical. Perspective is everything, boys and girls. Big Cabeza. I'm only 18, but the urge to have more capital because I know what the market can do makes me so mad. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's hard being young. I know we were all there. It's not easy, but hopefully the content I talk about helps, and the ideology I present. We obviously look at the markets differently. Any thoughts on how geist emission schedule compared to AVAX? I think you mean blizz. I don't know. Oh, you mean with regard to the incentive system? You mean Phantom versus AVAX Rush? I don't know. They're giving away money, incentivizing participation. I think we'll see. We'll only know in hindsight how it plays out. Shisha, you get paid in Ethereum and DAI, the best kinds of payout. Yeah, on Geist. I like Geist. Geist was my position prior to Blizz. I didn't trust Blizz as much because I didn't know who was building the system. But then the guy who says he's building Blizz and Geist made his presence known on Twitter, and that helped a little bit. ETH is a pristine collateral. Why don't you borrow some to pay? Because it's an appreciating debt position. I'm going to borrow. Why would you borrow pristine collateral? You mean borrow dollars or borrow less pristine, borrow shit collateral. So you use Ethereum to borrow DAI, for instance. These are food for thought. Bear in mind, I'm a highly over collateralized person. Ethereum is a very volatile collateral, so there's no reason it can't get hammered down to $1,000 or $1,500. So you're gonna have to over collateralize by a couple 100%, 200, 300% over collateralization to really avoid liquidation significantly. So you're not able to borrow much capital, which is why Ethereum and Bitcoin have a lot of opportunity cost. They're not the most productive assets because you could access equity, which is meaningful. Yeah, sure. If you got $1 billion, you could borrow $100 million and be pretty good with regard to volatility. Unless you have a 90%, but then you could always pay back some debt to maintain your margin. You get margin called, so to speak. So it's food for thought. Thoughts on owning 1% of Geist token supply? That's a lot of token supply. You got a hell of a revenue stream if you own that. I keep seeing Concave on Twitter. Any thoughts? No, I don't have one right now, Killis. I'm sorry, but I know I saw it as well. It could be Lobis and stuff like that, and that's Convex Wars, Curve Wars. That's all about Curve Wars. That's the story there. Flying Frog, is it still worth it to get into Blizz? It dropped almost $1.08. Yeah, you don't buy when it's 250. Oh, it's down. That's when you're thinking about buying. You got to look at the chart. Got to pull up the charts. That's when you think about a position. I don't know. I'm horrible at taking positions. Very, very horrible. Ding dings in the house. Frank Corp, good evening. Morning, evening, afternoon. It's a whole world here. Let's wrap up the stream in a couple minutes. I'm going to try and get through as many comments as I can. Wondering if I should denominate my cash flow in Ethereum or purchase more Curve. Well, if you're denominating your cash flow in Curve, you're compounding your cash flow. Curve on the way, Curve with regard to my target allocation, I'd like to build it to 40%. I went for a target number, quantity of assets. And I don't know if that was good or bad, but that was something that I had in my mind when I was assessing whether to continue compounding or start to take capital and accumulate some capital like I got here in my Ethereum cash flow position. Just joined the stream. Are you still farming on Matic? I am not, Mario. Tapsy, what's up, Noah? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We are investors, Malik. Spot on. Allocators. Pretty awesome transaction fees on Blizz. Our interest-bearing deposit themselves. Yeah, it's incredible transaction fees. Ryan's in the house. A pleasure. Glad to catch up on the stream. Much respect for the great content. Last comment. Let's wrap it up. With your borrowed debt, did you feel it necessary to keep any of it in MIM USD to earn a stable yield, or you just deploy it all to CVX? Well, I took it at a collateralization ratio. Bear in mind, I borrowed at like 3 cents. So I borrowed like that 100 chip when it was 300% the price it is now. But I over collateralized to such a degree that it only took it down to 80% TVL or LTV, loan to value. So I wasn't too worried. Historically, I only borrowed stables and I would farm stables. Historically, you guys know that deal. That's exactly what we did on Polygon. But nowadays, I'm doing things a little different. I had no reason to worry about liquidation. I was extremely over collateralized. So I borrowed some capital to get exposure to an asset that's part of Curve Wars. I thought that was a rational course of action. I bought a small bag of ice at about $13. I don't have the capital to comfortably be on Ethereum, but I will one day. Stay optimistic. Stay positive, my friend. Be thirsty. Last couple of comments. How well does technical analysis translate from traditional finance to crypto? 100%. It's almost the same. It's completely identical. ICE is another one that looks like it's finding a bottom. Yep, I hope so. Have you looked into Trank? I have not. Heard about it, but I don't see the cash flow, or the capital flow, or the monetary velocity on Harmony One yet. And I'm not interested in being super early. It's nice to be early, but if you notice, even on Spell, I wasn't early. It took like 3 months for me to take a position. That's Spell. So it's June, July, August, end of August. Over 2 months to take a position. So I don't buy things that are brand new. Yeah, Arbitrum's a little something. Arbitrum's cool. If there's an opportunity, you go for the opportunities. It's all about opportunity cost analysis, Liv. That's the name of the game. Gillatron spell is undervalued. 87 people in the stream. 87 people remaining. There's more on before, but I've been talking a lot today. 33 likes. We can do better. Dylan, Noah, my man, what do you think about the new ZK roll-up narrative shaping up? It's a big deal. Well, be it ZK, be it Arbitrum, be it Optimism, it's all good. Whatever it is, it's all synergy. All this shit just works together. The total capital in the entire space is relatively small compared to the total capital out there. Stuff is just beginning, boys and girls. Big Cabeza, what do you think the best play is for me whose capital is yet to reach the amount to have multiple revenue streams? Concentrate and take the risk off to grow the capital. There is no shame in accumulating stablecoins and treating this like a savings account. 30% in like a position on convex, that's serious. Serious business. You got banks out there screwing people over left and right, and you can get 20, 30% on your money. And then you take 1% of your portfolio, you turn it into 10% of your portfolio, and that's how you change your portfolio. The core of the portfolio should be either the most stable or your highest conviction. Highest conviction requires experience if you're going to be exposed to volatile assets. Highest stability, stablecoins. Pick a stablecoin. You're going to have some issues with regard to the centralized stablecoins and likely capital controls. They'll probably Treasury will probably enforce capital controls on USDC and USDT, and that means interoperability in the crypto space. You'll have MIM, UST, Frax, LUSD, but they still need to be interoperable with the centralized capital controlled stablecoins. So it's a very interesting dynamic and presentation that the crypto space is painting for the next couple of years. Very, very interesting. Gurpreet, Incoom gang. That's right. Arshel, have a good day. Wish you the best. Hilda, guys just found out about EPS airdrops when CVXCRV staked. Yeah, that's been printing for months. Hilda, you probably have some serious airdrops to claim. Enjoy. Victor, thanks again so much, Captain. You have a good one. Appreciate it. Thoyo, dude, Big Cabeza? Oh, I didn't notice. Martin's in the house. A pleasure. I'm going to wrap up the stream. 92 people in the stream, 43 likes. We can do better. Let's do a little bit better by the end of the stream. I appreciate it. Wednesday, December 1st at 1:39 p.m. It's a good one today. I like this topic. I thank you all for joining me. Tell everyone to subscribe. After party on Discord. You know where we are. 24/7, always talking shop, trying to figure out these markets. Hit me up on AskVid. Links are in the comments to the stream today. I wish you all a good one. I'll see you again maybe tomorrow, definitely Friday. Peace.